I was exhausted after taking care of my son's 6-year-old daughter, so when he finally picked her up, I posted on Facebook that the burden was gone and I felt relieved. Now my family is furious, calling me heartless, and cutting me off over what I think was just honesty. I'm in my late 50s, I raised my kids already. I worked, I paid my dues, I did the whole thing. I never pretended to be a kid person or someone who lights up around children. I'm polite, I'm functional, I don't hurt anyone. But I've always been honest about the fact that I don't enjoy being around kids, and I especially don't enjoy being responsible for them. I didn't have more kids for a reason. I didn't beg for grandchildren. This matters. About 8 months ago, my son showed up at my door with his 6-year-old daughter and a story. His ex had relapsed. Things were unstable, and he just needed a few weeks to get things sorted. He said it would be temporary. He said he'd handle everything. I said no at first, multiple times. He cried. He guilted me. He said I was her only option. Eventually, I agreed, because that's what mothers do, apparently. A few weeks turned into months without any real discussion. Suddenly, she was enrolled in a school near me. Suddenly, I was doing daily drop-offs and pickups. Suddenly, I was buying clothes, shoes, school supplies, groceries that weren't mine. I work part-time and live on a fixed budget. I started keeping track of what I was spending because it was adding up fast. My son was between jobs the entire time. There was always a reason money couldn't come yet. The child herself wasn't evil, before anyone jumps down my throat, but she was a lot. Constant crying if I left the room, waking up at night, wetting the bed, needing to be touched or reassured all the time, following me everywhere. I couldn't sit down without her climbing on me. I couldn't take a phone call without her interrupting. I stopped going out. I canceled a short trip I'd planned for myself. My house stopped feeling like my house. I know Reddit loves to say she's traumatized. Fine. That doesn't magically make it enjoyable. I didn't abuse her, I didn't hit her, I didn't scream at her. I fed her, got her to school, took her to appointments, kept her clean and alive. I just didn't enjoy it, and I resented that no one cared how much of my life was being swallowed up. What really pushed me over the edge was realizing there was no end date. Every time I asked my son what the plan was, he'd say soon, or I'm working on it. 8 months is not a favor anymore. It's a lifestyle change I never agreed to. Last week I finally gave him a deadline. He picked her up on a Friday evening. I watched them drive away, and for the first time in months, my house was quiet. I sat on my couch and felt an actual physical sense of relief. My chest felt lighter. That's when I posted on Facebook. I wrote, "The burden is finally gone. I feel lighter already. 8 months of my life back." Just that. It was on my private account, mostly family and friends. I wasn't trying to start a war. I was venting. I was being honest about how I felt. Within an hour, my phone was blowing up. My son called screaming. My daughter-in-law took screenshots and started sending them around. My siblings accused me of being cruel, heartless, disgusting. One of them said I should be ashamed to even think that way. People I've known for decades suddenly acted like I'd committed some unforgivable sin. I edited the post to add, "Honesty isn't abuse. I'm allowed to feel relief." That somehow made it worse. Now I'm being told I emotionally damaged a child because she saw the post, which I didn't even know at the time. I'm being blamed for other people showing her adult conversations. I'm being told my feelings don't matter because she's a child. Apparently, I was supposed to pretend this was the happiest experience of my life or keep quiet forever. Was I wrong for telling the truth instead of pretending to be a saint? Update 1. I didn't expect to update this fast, but by the next morning, my son stopped responding completely. No calls, no texts, nothing. I didn't think much of it at first because he has a habit of going quiet when he's upset, and then resurfacing later like nothing happened. This time was different. I found out through my sister that he told everyone he was done with me and that I should never speak to his daughter again. That was his exact phrasing, apparently. I wasn't told directly. It was passed around like gossip, which already set the tone for how this was going to go. Later that day, my sister called again, much more dramatic than usual, and said I needed to understand what I had done. She told me the child had seen my Facebook post, not on my page, not because I showed her, but because someone else had it open on their phone and she looked over. According to my sister, the child asked if she was the burden. That was supposed to break me, I guess. It didn't. What upset me was that grown adults are apparently showing a 6-year-old things she has no business seeing and then blaming me for it. I didn't tag anyone. I didn't name her. I didn't post it on a billboard. If people would stop dragging children into adult conversations, maybe this wouldn't happen. But somehow that part gets skipped over, and it's all my fault. At that point, my son officially went no contact. I was removed from the family group chat without a word. 1 minute it was there, the next minute it was gone. I only noticed because I went to send a message clarifying something and realized I couldn't. That's how childish this has gotten. Then the pile-on started. One of my brothers sent a long message listing all the ways I've always been like this. Apparently, I've never liked kids. I refused to babysit when my nieces and nephews were young, and I cut people off emotionally when they inconvenience me. These were framed as personality flaws instead of boundaries I've been consistent about for decades. I never hid who I was. I never pretended to be the warm, doting type. People just tolerated it until it applied to someone they suddenly cared about more than my limits. I responded by pointing out that no one was forced to leave their children with me. I didn't volunteer. I didn't advertise myself as a solution. I stepped in because I was pressured. Somehow that part keeps getting erased. Friends started distancing themselves too. It wasn't dramatic at first, just silence. Messages left unread. People who normally comment on my posts suddenly nowhere to be found. One friend I've known for over 20 years commented under the original post that some thoughts don't need to be shared. I replied publicly that if honesty makes people uncomfortable, that's not my responsibility. She unfriended me shortly after. No conversation, no explanation, just gone. At that point, I stopped trying to smooth anything over. Instead of deleting the post like everyone demanded, I wrote another one, longer this time. I explained that I had been financially and emotionally drained for months. I listed the responsibilities that landed on me without warning. I said, emotional labor is still labor, and being expected to absorb someone else's crisis indefinitely is not kindness, it's exploitation. I also said something that really seemed to enrage people, that grandparents are not automatically obligated to love or raise their grandchildren, especially when those grandchildren arrive through chaos they didn't create. That post traveled much further than the first one. People shared it. People commented. Some defended me, most didn't. Strangers started weighing in. Extended family I hadn't spoken to in years suddenly had opinions. It felt like my entire life was being discussed in public by people who weren't there for any of it. What finally pushed me from annoyed to angry was hearing what my son has been telling people. According to multiple relatives, he's been describing me as cold and dismissive toward his daughter. He's implying that I ignored her emotionally, that I was detached, that I made her feel unwanted. He's positioning himself as the struggling single father who trusted his mother and got burned, and people are buying it. I want to be very clear, not enjoying something is not the same as mistreating it. I didn't lock her in a room. I didn't starve her. I didn't scream at her. I simply didn't perform affection the way people expect women to. And apparently that's enough to be labeled cruel. Right now, I'm being pressured from all sides to apologize, to take it back, to post some emotional clarification about how I didn't mean it that way. But the truth is, I did mean it. I was relieved. The burden was gone. Pretending otherwise would be a lie, and I'm done lying to keep other people comfortable. If my son wants to tell his version, fine. But I'm not going to sit quietly while I'm turned into a villain for saying what everyone else is thinking, but too afraid to admit. I didn't ask for this situation, and I'm not going to apologize for surviving it. At this point, I'm done trying to protect anyone's feelings. If people want the truth, I'm more than willing to give it. Update 2. So after my first update, people kept saying I was hiding details or leaving things out to make myself look better. That annoyed me more than anything else. I wasn't trying to look good. I was trying to be accurate. So I decided to explain, privately at first, what those 8 months actually looked like. I started with family members who were texting me non-stop, demanding explanations. I sent breakdowns, not emotional messages, just facts. How much I spent on groceries because the child was a picky eater and refused what I normally cook. How often I had to rearrange my work schedule for school drop-offs, early pickups, random sick days. How many nights I slept poorly because she woke up crying and wouldn't settle unless someone stayed nearby. I even sent screenshots from my bank app because people kept implying I was exaggerating. I also described what living with her was actually like. I used words people didn't like. I said she was clingy. I said she regressed constantly. I said everything took 3 times longer because she needed attention every minute she was awake. That wasn't an insult, it was an observation. But once something leaves your phone, you don't control how it's read. Those messages didn't stay private for long. I don't know who shared them first. A cousin, maybe. A family friend. someone who smiled to my face and then forwarded everything. Suddenly, pieces of my private messages were being quoted back to me by people I hadn't even spoken to. The tone shifted immediately. It wasn't just anger anymore, it was disgust. What really set people off was when I explained my boundaries inside my own house. I didn't think this was controversial. I said that at night, I locked my bedroom door because I need uninterrupted sleep to function. I said that when she cried from her room, I didn't rush in every time because I didn't want to reinforce the habit. I said I told her she was safe and needed to calm herself down. Somehow, that got translated into me being cold or neglectful. To be clear, I didn't sit there listening to screams for hours. I just didn't jump every single time she made a noise. Apparently, that's unforgivable. Once those details got out, the tone online shifted too. People who were already angry became outright hostile. Comments stopped being about my Facebook post and started being about my character. I saw words like monster and soulless more than once. I stopped responding because there was no point. Anything I said just made it worse. Then it crossed into my real life in a way I didn't expect. I work part-time in a community-facing role. It's not glamorous, but it involves being around families and kids, which people now find ironic. Someone sent screenshots of my Facebook posts and my messages to the organization I'm involved with. I wasn't called in and screamed at. It was much quieter than that. I was told it might be best if I stepped back for a while because of the attention and concerns being raised. No one used the word fired, but the message was clear. I'm no longer welcome there. While that was happening, my son decided to finally speak, but not to me.
None.
He sent a statement through one of my sisters that quickly made its way around the family. In it, he admitted that he failed as a father. He said he was overwhelmed, made bad choices, and leaned on me too much. Everyone praised him for being accountable. Then he followed it up by saying that while I provided physical care, I was emotionally distant and made his daughter feel like a problem. That part stuck. So now he's the struggling parent who owned his mistakes, and I'm the villain who refused to love a child properly. Never mind that he left her with me for 8 months. Never mind that he didn't have a plan. None of that matters anymore. What makes this worse is watching people soften toward him while doubling down on me. I'm expected to apologize. He's expected to heal. I'm expected to take responsibility for everyone's feelings. He's praised for doing his best. I'll admit, that's when I got angry enough to start thinking about legal options. Not because I want money or drama, but because at this point people are saying things about me that aren't true. Saying I didn't enjoy something is not the same as saying I abused a child, but that line keeps getting blurred. And once that accusation is out there, it doesn't disappear. I mentioned in a comment that I was considering speaking to a lawyer about defamation. That set off another wave of reactions. People told me I was delusional, that I'd only make things worse, that I should just apologize and move on. But apologizing would mean admitting to things I didn't do, and I'm not doing that to make other people feel better. At this point, it feels like the truth only matters when it fits the story people want. I shared details because people asked. I explained myself because I was accused of lying, and somehow that made everything worse. I don't regret telling the truth about what those months were like. I regret that people would rather protect a comforting narrative than accept that not everyone experiences caregiving the same way. And I'm starting to realize that no matter what I say next, someone is going to twist it anyway. Update 3. I decided I needed to protect myself properly, not emotionally, but on paper. I spoke to a lawyer, not some dramatic lawsuit situation, just a consultation. I explained that people were accusing me of emotional abuse, neglect, cruelty, things that could actually follow me around if they stuck. I told him about the posts, the screenshots, the way my son's version of events was spreading without anyone questioning it. He said I had the right to defend myself if false statements were being presented as fact. So I sent a cease and desist letter to my son. I didn't announce it. I didn't post about it. I didn't even feel dramatic when I did it. It felt calm, reasonable. The letter basically said he needed to stop telling people I mistreated his daughter, stop implying abuse, and stop encouraging others to harass me. I genuinely believed this would force him to slow down and think. Instead, it detonated whatever was left. Within hours of him receiving it, I got messages from relatives telling me I was dead to them. One aunt said I'd crossed a line that couldn't be uncrossed. Another told me I should be ashamed for threatening my own child. My son didn't respond to me directly at all. He blocked my number, blocked me on every platform, and then he made it clear through others that I was no longer welcome at anything involving the family. Holidays, birthdays, nothing. I told myself I didn't care. I tried to mean it, but it still felt surreal how fast I went from difficult mother to completely erased. Then the situation got more complicated in a way I didn't expect. The child's mother resurfaced. Apparently, she's been sober for several months now. She reached out to my sister first, then started talking to other family members. And of course, her version of events painted her as remorseful and trying to rebuild, which everyone ate up. According to her, she was sick, unstable, and trusted me to take care of her daughter when she couldn't. She said she appreciated what I did, but that she always felt uncomfortable with how much I complained. That's the part that stuck. She told people I asked repeatedly when the child would be removed from my home, that I referred to the situation as temporary housing, that I was counting down the days out loud. I won't deny I wanted an end date. I won't deny I was clear about my limits. But suddenly that honesty became evidence of cruelty. I called it manipulation. Everyone else called it confirmation. Around that same time, someone I don't know personally put everything together in one place. Screenshots of my Facebook posts, pieces of my private messages, comments I'd made defending myself, even things I'd said early on that I barely remembered typing. It was all laid out in a neat little timeline with captions explaining how awful I was supposed to be. It spread fast, locally fast. I started noticing people I hadn't spoken to in years viewing my profile. Old acquaintances unfollowed me quietly. A neighbor who used to wave suddenly avoided eye contact. I became that woman people talked about without saying her name. What bothered me most wasn't the judgment. It was how simplified everything became. 8 months of stress, resentment, obligation, exhaustion, and resentment again reduced to she hated a child. That wasn't the truth, but no one wanted nuance. They wanted a villain. I'll admit something here that people won't like. I started leaning into the martyr mindset. I told myself I was being punished for refusing to fake emotions I didn't have, for saying out loud what other people think but won't admit. I told myself I was the only honest one in a family built on guilt and pretending. And yes, I still don't feel the way people think I should feel about the child. I don't miss her. I don't ache for contact. I don't sit around crying over this. What I mourn is my reputation, and the fact that people I supported for years dropped me the second I stopped playing my role. Do I regret the Facebook post? Not really. I regret the cost. I regret how much power it gave other people over my life. I regret underestimating how badly people want a clean story with a hero and a monster. But the feeling behind it, the relief, that part was real, and no amount of outrage has changed that. At this point, I'm isolated in a way I've never been before. I've lost family, community ties, and any illusion that explaining myself would make a difference. Final update. A few weeks after my last update, I moved. Not dramatically. I didn't announce it. I didn't tell most people where I was going. I sold my place quietly, packed what I needed, and left the rest. I changed my number and deleted most of my social media. The accounts that are still active are locked down and empty. I didn't do it out of fear. I did it because staying meant being stuck in a version of myself everyone else had already decided on. I have no contact with my son. None. I haven't seen him since the day he picked his daughter up months ago. I don't know where he's living now, what he's doing, or how things are going with the child. People assume that's heartbreaking. They assume I wake up every day regretting everything, that I sit around wishing I'd handled it differently. I don't. What I feel more than anything is quiet. No more waiting for messages that only exist to accuse me of something. No more family group chats blowing up with lectures. No more people telling me how I should have felt, what kind of person I'm supposed to be, or how much performative remorse would have made them comfortable. The noise stopped when I left, and I didn't realize how heavy it had been until it was gone. I lost my family over this. That part is real. Siblings I spoke to weekly don't acknowledge I exist anymore. Extended relatives cut me off completely. I'm no longer invited to anything. Not that there's anyone left who would invite me. I'm talked about like a cautionary tale. The woman who hated her granddaughter. The grandmother who chose pride over love. What people don't understand is that I didn't choose this because I hate anyone. I chose it because I was done being expected to sacrifice myself and then pretend I was grateful for the opportunity. I was done being the default solution because I was available and quiet enough to be used. Here's the part that will make people angry, but I'm past caring. That Facebook post wasn't an accident. I didn't post it without thinking. I didn't lose control or have a moment of weakness. I knew exactly how it would sound. I knew people would be offended. I knew it would force a reaction. At the time, I told myself it was honesty, and it was, but it was also something else. It was a release. It was a way to end something I didn't know how to end politely. For 8 months, I was stuck, I couldn't say no without being judged. I couldn't ask for help without being dismissed. I couldn't admit I was miserable without being told that my feelings were wrong. So I said the one thing I knew would finally stop the expectations. I said the thing no one would forgive. And it worked. No one asks me for anything now. No one expects me to step up, show up, or soften myself to fit their idea of what a woman my age should be. I am completely removed from that role, permanently. Do I like how it happened? Not really. The fallout was worse than I predicted. I didn't expect my work to be affected. I didn't expect to become locally infamous. I didn't expect the child's mother to reappear and be treated like a redemption story while I stayed the villain. I underestimated how badly people need someone to hate when a situation makes them uncomfortable. But if you're asking whether I regret the decision itself, the answer is no. I regret that it cost me options. I regret that it forced such a clean break. I regret that I no longer have a relationship with my son, not because I miss the closeness, but because I didn't expect it to be so final. Once something breaks at that level, there's no repair. He will never see me as anything other than what everyone else decided I was. That's the price. I paid it. What I won't do is pretend I suddenly discovered a well of maternal devotion I never had. I won't rewrite history and say those months weren't exhausting, suffocating, and resentful. I won't say I learned some beautiful lesson about love. What I learned is that people would rather you lie convincingly than tell an ugly truth.